This is the high-risk recurrent advanced group for the very first meeting of the year on January the 2nd. And we're looking forward to a healthy, very healthy new year for the group and for everybody that listens in and who attends. So we want to wish everybody from AnCan a very healthy new year. We have some new sponsors going into 2023, which is really exciting. We snuck in literally under the wire with Myriad Genetics, who sent us a request for an invoice with 2 hours left on Friday. And God bless Tracy Valentine, our treasurer. She got it out in time because they wanted to book that into 2022. So we welcome Myriad. We have Myovant, as you know. We have Janssen just waiting to pick up some money, pick up the money from them. And I think there are a couple more. So we continue to be appealing to the pharmaceutical companies, and we can truly say that it was AnCan that innovated this whole idea of getting them to sponsor groups. And I think that it is the answer to our recurrent cash flow. How do we maintain a recurrent cash flow? And I think the sponsorships probably will do it, and we hope to extend those sponsorships to other conditions this year, multiple sclerosis, blood cancers, etc. So enough of that. We will start, and our very first question of the new year comes from Norm Pollock, who has a question for somebody. Go ahead, Norm.
Well, I get to be first for the year, so I was just wondering how Cliff was doing. These hot flashes are just, man, they're just, oh boy,
they're bad.
I'm not functioning well. I wonder how he was doing with his acupuncture. So
I was having them approximately every 15 to 20 minutes at one point. I mean, it was really bad. And of course, the first thing I did was I went to this little device here, and it really wasn't giving me what I wanted because it was still going. Went to acupuncture. The first time I went there, the doctor, he knew basically what I was there for, and he had answered this question before with other people. And they put needles in my legs because I said, I don't really want them in my ears, if possible. And it did no good. And then he said, well, we've got several ways we can address this. And then he put 3 needles in my ears, here, at the top of the ear, inside the ear, and right between the little lobe here. And initially, it was some difference. Along with this and the needles.
Could you try again?
I did see the frequency was less. The intensity was less, but I was still having them. So I got to go back and see him again. But I will share that with him that there's been some improvement. But I still have hot flashes. The only time I don't have hot flashes is when I'm riding my bike and exercising. I don't have any at that time. But yeah, it's tough.
I was out doing firewood today, cutting and splitting wood, and man, oh man, I just those hot flashes that hit, and I'd have to sit down.
You're drenched. You're just drenched.
Oh man,
Yeah.
soaking wet, just soaking wet.
Yeah, you're drenched when that happens. Yeah, I understand.
So what's with the needles in the ears for 5 days? How do you sleep or anything?
Oh, very carefully. They're actually put in a place where you don't really have a problem. If you get a nice soft pillow, I slept on my back a lot, which is as much as I possibly could. After 5 days, they're supposed to fall out. I didn't allow them to fall out because they're little needles, and I don't want them falling out all over the place. So I do have them. I kept them here in a little case. I just took them out after the 5th day, which was yesterday, and they're like I say, it's painful. When you put them in, it's painful.
Cliff?
They stay as 3 on each ear, at the top, middle, and the bottom on each ear, and they're supposed to fall out. Like I said, after 5 days. I didn't wait. I took them out after 5 days.
I didn't get that.
I
Could you
still
try again?
I still get some results. I think as far as the shortage of the episodes, the frequency of the episodes as well. But yeah, it's if you can stand the pain and if you can sleep with it for 5 days, I think it's worth it.
Hey,
I'm
Cliff,
not sleeping anyhow, so I might as well give it a try.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I say I'm
Cliff.
not sleeping anyhow, so I might as well give it a try.
Yeah, you might as well. I mean, believe me, I was desperate. I can't stand these things.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
I tried
hey, thanks.
acupuncture.
can you hear me, Cliff? It's John.
Yes, John.
The little tiny circular ear needles can be replaced by something less painful if your acupuncturist is up for it. Sometimes we tape on little tiny seeds called vicarious seeds, and sometimes we tape on tiny little metal pellets or beads, sometimes made of stainless steel and sometimes made of gold or even magnetized beads. And they don't pierce the skin or even stick the skin the way those tiny little circular needles do, but they still are some degree of stimulation on the acupuncture points and a lot and would hurt a lot less. So see if they'll go for the beads or seeds.
Okay, I'll ask him when I go back. Yeah. Yeah, these are like little golden needles, and they're very. If you step on one, you know it.
Yeah.
I've had some success with acupuncture also. It started out for the first month once a week treatments, and then I was going once a month for a while. But I do have a question. I also have, I don't know if it's considered hot flashes, but any type of exertion or exercise, my body goes into overdrive with sweating. So I don't know if that's considered a hot flash or that's another thing, but it just, I've never had that before until I've been on, this medication, and I can't do any little bit of strenuous activity
Yeah.
without breaking out in a heavy sweat.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. If I go out from outside to inside, or they just come on, and I can think about it like, oh, I haven't had a hot flash in a while. Bam, it comes. So yeah,
Oh, no, I
I
don't
try not to
understand.
think about these things.
What I don't understand is how you get cold while you're still hot.
No.
Damn.
Well, you're
I
sweating. I
have
mean,
a
all that
couple
sweat
of
just
I have
cools
a
you down.
couple of thoughts on this. Well, a couple of comments. The first is that from what I know about the acupuncture, and this sort of follows what Harry was saying, that early on you need pretty regular treatments. I mean, Harry was saying every week to every month. I mean, I've heard before every 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, whatever it is, it's not a permanent. It's not a permanent solution. The acupuncture, it works, but keep repeating the treatment. The second thing I wanted to say is, I mean, I exercised a lot all the time I was on hormone therapy. I don't ever really remember the exercise, and it was vigorous exercise. I don't remember it causing me to have more frequent hot flashes. And I did suffer pretty badly. I mean, not one every 20 minutes, but I probably had 20 to 30 a day.
Yeah,
And then whatever happened in the night.
yeah, I went on a 50-mile bike ride day before yesterday. Did a 40-mile today. When I'm riding my bike, I have no problem. When I'm physically exerting myself strenuously, I have no problems. As soon as I get off the bike, and just relax for a while, they come back.
So this is a perfect example of how every guy's different. Harry, he can't exercise, or as soon as he starts exercising, he starts sweating more. It works the other way.
Yeah.
So hard to know. Anything else before we leave hot flashes?
Yes,
I've
I
got
have
something
I have
on
one
it.
thing. I have one thing. For all you
Go
guys,
ahead, Jimmy.
I don't know if this has been talked about before. I haven't heard about it, but I saw an advertisement the other day for something called a bed jet. It's something that you attach to your bed. It's supposed to be a heating and cooling thing. It's supposed to be amazing. To me, I don't, I never tried it. I don't know anything about it, but it specifically said that if you're too hot or too cold, that it can help you. So I'm going to put a video demonstration of it in the chat box and leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah, I'll comment on that. The people in the MS group have mentioned this, and
Okay.
they've said that they've had some good success with it. So it might be something to consider.
It could be
Someone
this,
else
you know,
someone else wanted to come in too before we
I've
left. Who
got
was that?
what I've got an answer for me at least. I get a Depo-Provera shot every 3 months. 10 days after I get the shot, my hot flashes drop to 1 or 2. The Ember device did allow me to get down to 0 or 1 for a while, but I got a medical thing that gave me them back. But I've been getting Depo-Provera shots for 2 months now. Excuse me. You get them every 3 months. I've got them twice, and the hot flashes go down to almost nothing. It really does work. The first 10 days after you get the shot, it's not that beneficial, but then all of a sudden your hot flashes stop. So I've been using it for at least 3 years. Just something to let you know. I used to get 10, 15 hot flashes at least every day. I've had as many as 24.
Yeah. It's definitely not fun. I just switched my view to everyone from the active cameras, and I'm surprised to see a bunch of names who I didn't poll. If any of you need time, we should have time. Just put something in the chat window, and I'll make a note. So if I didn't poll you, and you do need time, especially if you came in the first 10 minutes and I missed you, please put it in, and we'll try and get to you. Bob,
Yes.
Dr. Bob, you had something.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone in this group is using, but another support group I go to, there are a couple of guys use estradiol patches, which seems
Right.
to really help not just with hot flashes, but with osteoporosis and keeping muscle. And something I'm going to look into
Right.
once some issues I have going. But they swear by it.
Yeah. So estradiol and Depo-Provera and Megace, Megastrol are all in the same family of estrogen supplements. And of course, the one thing you have to be aware of if you take them is gynecomastia, which some of the guys have had. Tamoxifen can do the same thing. I just want you to be aware, and that there's a school of thought about Depo-Provera that in the long run it's not that healthy. It doesn't help with metabolic syndrome. It may aggravate metabolic syndrome. I need to refer, though. I don't know if any of the docs in the room have a comment on these estrogen-based solutions. Either, I know it's not exactly your areas, both of you, Dr. John and Dr. Jack, but any comment you want to make?
about
It's
estrogens in
pretty far from
general or
psychiatry.
Depo-Provera specifically.
Well, really about, well, Depo-Provera specifically, but or estrogen patches. Is there anything you want to say about that?
Personally, I'm not really up to date on this. I don't know how you feel, Jack, but I will look into it
I'm only concerned
and
about
see if I can
coagulopathy.
find anything. I
My
think
only concern is
Depo-Provera is a progesterone, not an estrogen.
yeah. Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
not as
Jack, what
concerned
did
about
you
the
say?
no, with the estrogen derivatives and estrogen patches, I'm only concerned about
the possibility of coagulopathy, which can occur, coagulation
Right.
problems in the
Right.
arterial bed, and that can
Right.
predispose one to having, coronary ischemia of one, the cardiovascular or cerebral problems. So that my concern about estrogen in men.
Yeah.
Right.
The
I
one
think
thing,
that's. Go
I'm sorry, I
ahead.
was just gonna say, the one thing with the patch that I've read is because it's a patch and it doesn't get processed through the liver, that it seems to have a much lower risk compared to something taken systemically or injected.
Right.
Okay. All right. We've pretty much exhausted this one, so we're gonna move on. Um, that little question took us down a very interesting road. Carl, what is up for you today?
A bunch of things, but I'll limit. uh, First of all, I'll put it into two parts. One is pain management, and the other is Pluvicto. I'll start with Pluvicto. I've had most recently a radiation oncologist at a company called Astera, which has locations in New Jersey, that according to the Pluvicto website, they are one of the 4 locations within 40 miles of my home that have availability of Pluvicto. So I made it, and this was given to me by the lead, so to speak. It was given to me by my oncologist at Rutgers. We had the appointment with him. Prior to the appointment, I had an MRI of the thoracic spine because I was having some pain in my back. So we talked about what was going on with the spine. The spine itself, basically, it's a very short report, just says extensive tumor burden in the anterior and posterior columns of the thoracic spine. No evidence of pathologic compression fracture at this time.
Okay,
No evidence.
Carl, you, you've read it. Cut to the chase. Tell us what you think it says. Don't we've got to be fairly succinct here.
It is
So what does
succinct.
it what does it
It's
say?
only, if you let me continue, is only 5 more words. If you don't want me to continue, I'll stop right here.
Well, I want you to summarize for us.
Well,
I don't want you.
that's
It's very hard, Carl, to absorb medical when you read it out. You've read it. What does it say? Does it say there's more, there's less, there's the same? Summarize it for us.
all right. Well, I guess I won't tell you the 5 last words, but basically what it says is that extensive tumor burden. Okay, is that
Extensive
is
tumor
that
burden.
short
Right.
enough?
That's very good. And what are you going to do with this? You're going to get. Are you going to get the Pluvicto? Is this the outcome?
What's happening with the Pluvicto is that I have signed up for the program, sent in the paperwork to Novartis. I've had numerous conversations, and within a week after I had my appointment with my radiation oncologist, um, we found out that the next available shipment, which comes from Italy, the only place that they produce it, will be available the end of April of this year.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
that is something that's not good for me. I contacted other locations to see what other availability there might be, but they're all on the same portal. So whenever they actually request supply, they go into this similar portal, and the portal is telling everyone the next availability is the end of April. I have a follow-up appointment with my oncologist at Rutgers on Tuesday to discuss what we should do. Can we afford to wait, or is there some interim treatment that we can have? My last treatment of chemotherapy was November 1st. And so my blood work has recovered, my hematocrit and the hemoglobin and red blood cells. And so if I go back again, to chemo, there's a lot of questions. I don't have any answers yet. I will discuss them further with my oncologist, but it is quite upsetting for
So
me to
Carl,
find
what's
out.
your PSA? What's the PSA these days?
I'm having a PSA test the end of the week. The last one was a couple of weeks ago and was 36.
Mhm.
And I am having more pain. So going on to my other topic
Hold on a
here.
minute. Hold on a minute on the Pluvicto. So my first of all, I don't know. I haven't heard from other people if they're getting it quicker, slower. Most everybody we have is in the midst of treatment. So if you're in the midst of treatment, you're a priority and you continue to get. So I wasn't that aware that they got backed up again. They are building another plant in the United States. I don't know when it's coming online. My suggestion would be to get your name on the list as quickly as you can and to get it on the list somewhere where they are doing a lot of volume right now. Because then if there is somebody who drops out for any reason, they can slip you into that slot because they've got doses coming in for that person. I don't know about this local provider. It sounds comparable with the provider that Mike Yancey has in Arkansas. But if you get it from Weill Cornell's got a lot of stuff coming in, and they may be able to get you in sooner. Yes, it's not as convenient, but it's volume. How do we do it? Volume. And so that would be my 2 cents. Anybody have any other thoughts on this Pluvicto availability?
Yeah, I I think it's. By the way, Carl, they do ship it from New Jersey as well, but because my Pluvicto comes from New Jersey,
Hmm.
whereas the guys who get it after me there are guys that get it the same day I do. It comes from Italy, so it's very weird. But they are making it in New Jersey as well.
Okay.
I think the issue isn't, Rick. It's more, as you once pointed out, it's more ability to give it. I mean, that's what we're finding at Hopkins, is that they basically don't have enough personnel there to keep pump. They could do much more, but they don't have the trained people yet to give it.
Yeah, but Herb, that's clearly not Carr's issue. The
No,
people are there
no,
to give it. They don't have product.
right. They don't
So,
have the product. That's
they
correct.
don't have the product. So my only suggestion, if they don't have the product, is to go to somewhere like a Hopkins or
Right.
or a Weill Cornell where they've got a lot of people that they're already delivering to. And then if one of those people drops out, they can maybe work it out or finagle it. Somebody like
No,
no,
no, you're right. I think I agree because at Hopkins, again, if someone drops out or they're sick or something, they've got the dose coming in. They got to give it to somebody, and they
right.
will. They'll just take the next person off the list.
Right. So your buddy Tagawa, get hold of him again and say, can you get me in for Pluvicto? And I don't think he's going to say we've got to wait until yeah, we can get you in, but we'll have to wait until April. He's on top of this. He's wheeling and dealing all the time with this stuff. And
I've already
when you
contacted Weill Cornell, and Tagawa is on vacation at the moment. So
Okay, so he'll be back from vacation. I mean that's he's on vacation. It's Christmas time. But when he comes back, that's where I would go. That's where you got to find out where the high volume places are and try and get yourself into one of those high volume places. Otherwise, you're just like anybody else, and you got to wait your turn. If it's whoever this local place is that has 2 or 3 outlets. But should you do something in the interim? I mean, what have you had in mind in terms of I mean, was the Jeff Tanner holding you down or not?
No, no, the PSA continued to rise on it.
So what else is on your mind? What else would you think of?
Well, I mean, the radiation oncologist that I spoke to has some ideas. He wants to discuss them with Dr. Soraya, my oncologist, who also has been on vacation. So he's looking at to alleviate the pain that I'm now experiencing emanating from the spine. There are some radiation techniques which have to be done very carefully to avoid any potential issues. So I'm not too anxious to go that route.
So
So
wait a minute.
Carl,
Are we? Hold on a minute, Herb, because I'm definitely going to come to you on this.
okay.
But are we now talking about pain management, or are we talking about treatment from the radiation oncologist?
Well, it's actually both, to the extent that if I have to wait until the end of April and my PSA continues to rise, what should we be doing for now? And I may not even get, I don't, well, I don't even want to go there. I expect I will get it at some point, the Pluvicto.
You'll get the Pluvicto at some point, of course you will. But you know, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who use it, and you have to get in line. And there were guys that waited 3 and 4 months when they shut the program down from whenever it was, September until
Mhm.
December, as you remember. So this is what happens now. You know, I don't know. I've suggested that one workaround, but the issue is, how do we control your disease in the interim? Spot radiation is one possibility, but it's not systemic. What else? Is there
So
anything else?
what
Is
about
there anything
radium
else?
223?
That is something that also the radiologist had suggested. His list of priorities for me would be Pluvicto first, radiation to the spine second, radium 223 third. And I have not yet had the discussion with my regular oncologist about all this. As I said, I'm meeting with him next Tuesday.
Well, I think the question is, to what extent would radium 223 prejudice you with the Pluvicto?
Right, right.
And but there are trials going on in Australia right now where they're using both treatments. They're trying to
Right.
see how they mesh, if there's a way that they can mesh. So they're looking at that. And you know, you can write to your buddy Hoffman and ask him about it, because he's the one that's doing it. So
Right.
the best source I can think of would be Michael Hoffman, and I know you've corresponded with him before, correct?
Right. Yes.
So in
Okay.
fact, I suggested to somebody they reach out to you for his email address. I think, oh, it was you, Herb, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes. So Herb, you go ahead, and I'd also like you to raise the issue that paper that you mentioned to me yesterday.
Well, actually, I mean, there is a paper which we caught because, as you know, I've been having this muscle weakness and pain syndrome. And so one of my friends found a case report of, of myopathy due to Pluvicto, which is an isolated case report, but it's
Hold on,
very,
Herb.
it's
Hold on. For those who don't know, myopathy is muscle wasting.
muscle weakness. So this person is being treated with Pluvicto and as losing their muscle strength in their legs. And they were successfully able to treat it. So that's the first and I had heard of any association of muscle weakness or like what I have, pain syndrome with Pluvicto. So I've thrown it out to my oncologist and I will reach out to others to ask for other opinions about this. But again, it's a case report. You don't know how common it's going to be. Now, in terms of the pain, Carl, I mean, are you taking pain meds?
Yes, and that's one of the things I wanted to discuss a little further. My doctor had given me tramadol some time ago, and I'm finding that the tramadol is really not effective. And when I asked him about that, he says, okay, we're going to switch you to morphine 15 milligrams, taken once every 4 hours as needed. I definitely found an improvement in the pain management by using that. However, in using the morphine, I'm finding a great deal of constipation that I'm trying
Okay,
to deal with.
okay, okay. Let me tell you, Carl, I had the same problem, as you remember. I started taking oxycodone. I had a big argument with my palliative care team. I didn't want to use opiates, but right now I'm using opiates. So I'm taking oxycodone, long release, and then as needed PRN short. But, and this also comes, this actually came from Larry. If you use stool softener and if you use PEG, Miralax, it will take care of those symptoms if you're really rigorous.
Yeah, I'm
You
using
got to
both.
be on top of it. That should do it. Are you using, and it's not working, huh?
Well, the Miralax I'm taking twice a day, and Colace I'm taking those little pills 3 times a day, and then also Senna
Right.
is twice a day.
That should, for me,
Not
it worked. I can tell
much,
you
okay,
it's
good.
worked for me.
Not much movement on my behalf.
Carl, do
Um,
you take a calcium supplement?
Yes,
Is it calcium carbonate or citrate?
citrate.
Oh, okay.
Dr. John, I know you have a fair amount of knowledge on these issues. Would you like to wade in here?
Well, tramadol as you know, Carl, is a mild opiate, and morphine is much better. Um, so it helps the pain more, and it causes yet even more constipation. It's a tough thing to jump to strong opiates because of the future possibility of developing tolerance. So it's important for your pain management doc to do everything possible to control your pain, even if each thing only works 10%. Tylenol might take down 10% of the pain. Acupuncture might take down 25% of the pain. Exercise might take down 20% of the pain. Knock off all the little parts that you possibly can. And if what's left still requires opiates, then you're stuck. And there's as Herb and others I think mentioned, there are management programs for constipation if you have to take chronic opiates. So my only message is do everything else possible to chip away at the pain, even if you think it's not effective at it and it might take off a few percent.
Yeah, I mean, Carl, I've also added on acetaminophen rigorously with the opiates and ibuprofen as necessary. Just chill in, because of what John said, just to limit as much necessary.
Okay.
Is this pain systemic or is it coming from a particular place?
A good question because a lot of my pain is coming from what I believe is the back and the on the right shoulder and the back,
Hmm.
and I have a great deal of problems sleeping no matter how I move because I'm always on my back because I have a CPAP machine, so I can't sleep on my stomach. Haven't slept on my stomach in years anyway, and so it's been a challenge for me to get any kind of restful sleep with this. Although the radiation oncologist believes it's possible it's coming from the middle of the spine and is extending onto the right side.
So Do you have
What
Mets
about
in your
a heating
shoulder?
pad?
Do you have Mets in your shoulder?
No. And then there's nothing to show in the any of the scans that there's anything in the shoulder.
So, because I mean, spot RT can be very helpful and very successful. But if you've got pain in your shoulder and you're not getting pain in the middle of your back, it may be something different. And that's what we've got to look at. And you have a palliative care doc on your team, correct?
Yes, yes. And as far as the pain on the spine, like they say, well, does it hurt? Okay, so don't touch it. So the pain is definitely when I touch the spine, I can really feel that. I don't touch it, I don't feel it. So, and also, Herb, you mentioned about a heating pad. I'm actually sitting right now with the heating pad on my back.
All right. Well, does anybody else have anything that they'd like to suggest to Carl, either on the availability of Pluvicto or the alternative treatments or the pain issues before we move on?
Would there be any reason why he could not sign up at multiple locations?
Interesting point. I did ask that, and like the people at Weill Cornell, they say, well, you're going to have to file a totally new application and get new approvals from your insurance company for each location that you apply with. So I'm not quite sure whether my insurance company would be willing to do that because they've already given the approval for this Astera group, which is actually near my home in New Central New Jersey.
I would think if you're talking about places like Weill Cornell and other well-known sites, I would think the insurance company would have no issue with it.
Okay, it's possible.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Joel. As far as I know, radium-223 is not only a anti-cancer drug, it's also a painkiller.
I don't think so, Joel. I think it's a painkiller to the extent that it deadens pain that's coming from cancer in the bones.
Correct.
It's not a painkiller. I mean, the same way Pluvicto would be a painkiller if it nails the cancer. But the problem with both of these, and I can tell you from experience, is that a lot of times the pain will go up before it goes down because those dying cancer cells can cause a bunch of pain and there's inflammation. And that's why a lot of times we see pain after the first or the second treatment and then it dies away. All right, we're gonna move on. Let's go to Mike Yancey.
Okay, just thought I'd give you a brief update. Back in October 20th, had some scans done. That was after I'd completed my second Pluvicto before my third, and everything looked good from the Pluvicto perspective. However, we did discover a non-PSMA producing lesion on my T9, T10 on my spine, and so we did 10 rounds of radiation to hopefully push that back, and then. Of course, I do my snowbird thing for January and February, leave at the end of December. And so I started having some pain in my right shoulder and left hip. And doctor did an MRI on both those, take a look at them, and didn't see any issues with those from the perspective of any fractures, etc. So my plan was just to head on down to Florida and deal with the pain as best I could. That was until Wednesday of last week when the pain went off the charts. And I ended up in the emergency room of the hospital at Fayetteville, and they admitted me and started me on all kinds of strong opiates to push the pain back. And also I started on 5 rounds of radiation, the first of which took place last Friday, and I'll do the second, third, fourth, and fifth today. I did the second, I guess, today, and then finish up on Thursday. And they've also put me on kind of a regimen of opiates, being oxycodone, to take, even though we're hoping that we can slow that down, back that off over time. But nevertheless, I'll finish up Thursday, meet with the doctor, and probably head south, and hopefully everything will be good enough until they get back this way and nothing flares up any further. So that's kind of my update.
So, where are you with your Pluvicto?
I'm getting ready to take my 5th Pluvicto January 25th.
And what's your PSA doing?
Well, interestingly enough, it dropped by over 50% to 0.26, and that was let me look at the date here right quick. That was on a PSA we did on 12/8, December 8th, and the last time we did one was October 20th, and my PSA was 0.66. So we were very surprised to see that kind of a drop on my PSA.
And for those of you who don't know, Mike doesn't produce PSA, has never produced PSA. So, you know, everything is all relative, and so that half drop is pretty impressive. So your Pluvicto, you said you were going down to Florida. Were you going to return to get the Pluvicto, or how are you going to handle that logistically?
Yeah, I'll drive back. I mean, that's one of the things I don't mind doing, is driving thousands of miles. So we'll leave, get back here for my Pluvicto on the 25th. We'll actually stay here for the three days of quarantine before we head back south.
Got it. How are you doing with that pain right now, Mike?
We're doing pretty good. We've actually, today's been one of my best days. I think we've got a good regimen going, and I'm able to kind of shorten the time between pills if need be. Like yesterday, got out of the hospital, was pretty active. Of course, where I live is 19 steps up, 19 steps down. And so it really irritated my hips quite a bit. And so I kind of shortened my intervals to about 4 hours. But today I've stretched it out to like 6+ hours. So it kind of depends upon the amount of activity and amount of irritation that I produce.
So what exactly are you taking right now for the benefit of the other guys who are on pain meds?
It's it's Percocet, 10 milligrams oxycodone.
Okay. Now, where is the pain again? Is it systemic, or is it from particular places?
Yeah, it's specifically, it's the main pain and what sent me to the hospital is my left hip. It's actually primarily where it's in the hip where the ball of the femur fits.
Sound familiar, Herb?
It sounds exactly familiar. I mean, I'm listening to my own story here. I mean, I'm getting the pain I'm getting is both hips, and they just don't know where it's coming from.
And
And
how
all they can
many
do is treat it.
how many
And
Pluvictos
all
have
they
you
can.
done?
I'm about to have my last one Wednesday. So I've had 5, and 6 is coming up Wednesday.
So, you know, I'm wondering more and more, and I really encourage you, Herb, to write to Hoffman and to write to you know, you can get the email address from Carl, and to write to Mike
Right.
Morris, and let's see if there is a correlation between this more intense pain, especially from the hips, with more dose, if it's been noted.
Yeah.
You know, we got 2 guys here
Right. We're seeing it.
very,
And
very similar.
right.
Um,
No, I
and
think
and
it's
you know,
worth.
yeah. And when Mike Yancey, you know, Mike Yancey's saying he went into the ER. I mean, this is the type of pain levels that you've been wrestling with as well.
Right. I mean, that's why they, I mean, basically, that's why they put me in as an inpatient. They admitted me to just take care of this pain, right? It was just something they couldn't do on an outpatient basis. So yeah,
Anybody
I think
else?
it's very.
Anyone else have anything they want to contribute on this conversation?
I just got a question, I guess. What kind of scan do they use? If you're not a PSA producer, you said your comment was you never have been. What kind of
That's
scan are they using to see lesions?
I don't produce PSA. I do produce PSMA.
Okay, so you can pick it up with PET. And so you never. What's the highest PSA you ever produced?
When I ended up in the hospital before I was diagnosed, I hit I think a high of about 47.
Oh,
But I had tumors and metastasis all over about every bone in my body.
oh wow, sorry. Thanks for that.
Oh, yes, I've had one dose of Pluvicto and I had pretty intense hip pain that has kind of been increasing, but I'm seeing a PT who thinks that she can help with it with some stretches and possibly some strength building. But yeah, I mean it's weird. It's like I'm able to go to sleep and then I just kind of wake up and I get this intense pain and then it kind of goes away. Um, so I can't really kind of explain it, but it makes you feel pretty lousy. And my second Pluvicto treatment was actually delayed for 2 weeks because of the ice storm out here in Seattle. So I've had to wait another 2 weeks, and my symptoms have really gotten quite a bit worse in 2 weeks. So I get my next dose on Friday, and I'm just day to day trying to make it to Friday.
So Cal, is it pain for you too?
Yeah, it is pain, but I also got the ascites, the swelling. Um,
Right.
so that has gotten worse. I'm wearing compression socks now because it's down in my legs. So, um,
Mm.
but the Pluvicto treatment last time pretty much did make all of that go away. So, um, but I'm hopefully going to get another ultrasound and maybe a paracentesis this week. So we'll see.
Mm.
Guys, one thing, it might not be a bad idea if you will start reporting it on the site. Because if you report it as a site, you think it could be a possible side effect, it's going to require AAA to look into it, Novartis,
Mm.
Advanced Accelerator Applications. And it really helps in terms of us as advocates trying to put pressure on the company, because then they'll say to us, well, did they report it? Did they report it? But with this paper that Herb was shown, which came from Turkey, but they're doing a lot of treatment in Turkey right now, and three of you mentioning it, and it may not just be a coincidence. And we'll do whatever we can, and like I say, I'm sure that Hoffman and Morris are probably the two savviest people in the out there as to having seen the most impact. But I encourage you to report these through the website. I don't know. I mean, I defer to people like Herb and Dr. Jack and Dr. John about the impact of reporting things. I don't know if it's a good strategy or not. But do you want to comment on that? Anyone?
I don't
I
think it can hurt.
I think things should always be reported, but I'm only familiar with what happens when docs report things. I don't know what happens when patients report them. If
Yeah.
they weren't they chasing after Peter to find out more information, and we were concerned about privacy issues. So But I sure like to see everything get reported.
I wonder, I don't remember who the guy is at FCCA, Rick, and the guy at Mayo. Is it Evan Wu at Mayo? Maybe
And
they've got, yeah, maybe
Evan
they got.
Wu is Evan is at Seattle. Is
Oh,
Seattle.
okay, so maybe he's the one to kind of ping and see whether he's seeing some of it too.
Okay. Okay. Well, the reason we mentioned those two is because both of them have been principal investigators on the trials.
Yeah.
But yeah, Evan, what's his face at I've lost his last name. It could be Wu, but I don't think so. Anyway, could be
Evan
another
Yu.
one. You, thank you.
Yeah.
You were close, Carl. Cal, you were very close. Okay. WXYZ. You were 2 letters off in the alphabet. It's close enough for government work. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Peter.
Well, there's a guy at Mayo too that right? That is a PI.
No, not at
No.
Mayo.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
no. Okay.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Rick, I just had a quick question. All three of these guys are talking about the hip pain. Is there a correlation to where their lesions are? Do you guys have lesions in the
Oh
Nothing.
yeah.
in the hip area? Is that
Yeah, well, I mean, we all have spinal. No, it's not in the hip area. The point is, this pain is referred from somewhere, and we don't know from where.
No,
okay?
I've got lesions in the pelvis capsule. So
Yeah, I mean, I have
Okay.
lesions in the pelvis and the hip, but they don't think that's where it's coming from.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of why I've been driving it. Where's the pain coming from? Because it may be that spot radiation is a solution, and they gave Herb spot radiation, and it didn't make any difference.
yeah, when I first got diagnosed, I
Right.
had spot radiation on the S1 because I had pain in my hip, and the radiologist said there's a nerve that comes down and wraps around your hip from your sacrum.
Okay. We'll keep moving on. Tom Maloney, bring us. We haven't seen you for a while, I don't think. So please bring us up to date.
Okay, I recently had 6 cycles of docetaxel, and my hair's starting to come back. And then I had a PSMA. A lot of things shrunk, and it showed that I had a tumor inside my skull, pressing on the dura mater, and they gave me 30 gray of radiation up at Dana-Farber. So that tumor's gone. I was so thrilled with that. And I start Pluvicto January 23rd. I can't wait for that. I got a question about people who have had Pluvicto. I've got Pluvicto scheduled at 10 o'clock, and at 10:30 they schedule some treatment. What is that?
They want you to meet with the doc ahead of time just to see how you're doing.
Well, I met with the doctor ahead of time. At 8:30, I meet with the doctor. 10 o'clock is Pluvicto. 10:30, I'm supposed to meet with a nurse, and I don't know what that's for.
I mean, the way it goes, at least with mine, you get a half-hour infusion of saline first. Then you get
Yeah.
the Pluvicto for an hour, and then they wash out with saline.
Oh,
So
okay.
it may be that they want you to see the nurse in between or something.
Well, the nurse at the end for the saline cleaning
Right.
makes sense. Uh, Thank you very much. I'm actually doing pretty good. Uh, I've lost some weight, but that seems to increase the urine output, and that's getting to be a slight problem.
If the urine output is getting to be a slight problem, I think, have you raised that with anybody or not?
Not yet. I'll be
Okay,
going
well,
this week to a urologist.
yeah, well, it may not be a urological issue so much as an issue you should be raising with your medical oncologist. Who, is it still, is it still Misha Beltran that's your
Yes,
quarterback?
yes,
Well,
yes, yes.
mention to this thing about your urine output, because there may be some correlation with the prostate cancer in and around the gland, and
I see. Yeah, you're right.
she may want to refer you. But please mention to Dr. Beltran that you're having this issue. You can tell her the AnCan people told me I should mention it to you because she
Yeah.
knows us. Okay,
Oh,
and
yeah, he's wonderful.
let her decide if she thinks you need to see a urologist or how to follow through on that. But you got to make her aware of it.
She's very good. I see her on the 11th of January. I still have a prostate. I had radiation instead, and then I had a bilateral orchiectomy, and that helped with the PSA, of course. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the balls now to do it again.
Very good. Okay, we'll give you 5 stars for that one. Um,
Thanks.
uh, yeah, I do think that you should. I do think you should talk to her about this, though. Um,
I certainly will. Thank you, Rick. That's a great idea.
yeah, and then she'll decide. And is your urologist at Dana Farber, or is your urologist local?
Uh, VA,
I would my suggest. Which VA do you go to?
Providence.
Okay. My suggestion would probably to let her refer you to to somebody at Dana Farber.
Okay, sure. There's no
Okay.
problem.
And by the way, perfect opportunity. Where's Captain Joe? Captain Joe, come in.
I am here.
Okay, give you can you can make our VA pitch for Tom Maloney et al. Please.
All VA and anybody who's dealing with medical from the government. Come on in. We've started a group focusing on getting treatments and follow-ups. We meet on the fourth Thursday of the month in this room at 8 p.m. Eastern. Everybody's welcome. My guess is that we'll probably move to a twice a month session, and we've been able to come up with a few good solutions already. The participants include VA retirees, uh, some folks who are involved with different aspects of getting treatments and locating it, as well as we haven't really talked too much into the side of dealing with the federal government. We've got another group we coordinate with that's following up on that. So please come on in. Um, Last session, we actually helped one of our members, one of our participants, discover that they were not getting the necessary coverage uh, financially and as well that they should have. And those are the kinds of things that we're going to hope to uncover as we go along.
Thank you very
I
much.
just
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I
I'll
just put the
join.
link in the chat window so you can read more about the group. And there's a couple of people on in this call tonight who have definitely benefited and learned about benefits available to them that they didn't know existed beforehand. And that's the real purpose of the group. And Joe, whilst we've got you, would you like to make a little pitch on Dr. Sholz?
Okay, I can do that. Let me see. I was going to see if I could put my image back on, but maybe not. The cameras are down. Yeah, there we are. Uh, we also have the great privilege of having Dr. Mark Sholz coming to do a webinar for us on January 30th. That's a Monday night, so same as what you're used to here at 8 p.m. You do need to register. Uh, if I'm successful in getting it, being able to copy it, I'll put it in the window. But the session is, he wrote a book 13 years ago, basically on prostate cancer and it being stolen, and he's going to do an update for us, and I think it's going to be an excellent opportunity. He's going to do about 40 minutes worth of presentation and the rest of the hour and a half available for Q&A. It will be everything from active surveillance on through anything that we tend to want to bring up. So, it's definitely a real privilege to have him agreeing to come to join us. There'll be
Hey,
more.
Joe,
Good.
is this going to be recorded?
Of course.
Our groups
Okay,
are always recorded, Les.
okay.
Our webinars are always recorded, always available. But sign up, and that way you're sure to get a link.
Yeah,
You'll
I am
find
signed
them.
up, but I was worried or wondering about transferring it to other people from some local groups that prostate cancer groups that if it's recorded, then they could listen to it also later.
They can either come in at the outset, or they can definitely watch it later.
Okay.
The very first one that I was involved in organizing a couple of years ago was with Dr. Peter Carroll, and we had 550 people register, of which the attendance was about 350, which is about right, because some of the international locations don't care to come in at 8 p.m. Eastern. They have to stay up late. Uh, but we've had a couple of thousand hits on our site for the replay. So we're anticipating the same now. We've just put the word out verbally. We really haven't put anything out formal. We'll try to do that this week, and we have close to 200 registrations already.
Yeah,
Mark Sholz has PCRI.org. That's a very good site. I'm sorry that Nick Vogelsang won't be around this year. That was a big loss.
big loss. Yeah, we agree with you. But yes, Dr. Sholz has been around for a long time. I will tell you that our poster for this Return of the Prostate Snatchers is the best poster we've ever produced, in my opinion. You should start to see it this week. And he's already been prepped that he's going to be talking about everything from his opinion on prostatectomies to advanced treatment. Joe, Paul Frida's asking the link. Joe will put the link in the chat window when he gets around to it pretty soon. He's got it at his fingertips, and you can sign up there, and it'll be in our reminders. And the last, before we leave this, I just want to go to Peter, who's a Mark Sholz patient, just to see, is there anything you'd like to add about Dr. Sholz?
Yeah, he's been with me from the get-go, 8.5 years now. And he thinks outside the box. I've got a letter I'm drafting for him for this week because I've got an odd situation, and his thinking is very different than other oncologists. He's willing to look at unusual things, which nobody else seems willing to do. So I'm grateful for the guy. He can be a little bit harried, and I've got to keep reminding him about keep him on track. He's the kind of doctor that you got to have your questions and get them to him and remind him of what you want to consider. Otherwise, he'll skip over stuff. But he's good though. I like him.
Okay.
He is
All
good.
right.
Please sign up. With my luck that I've been having with GoTo, I'm hoping that I will not blow myself away when I try to pop out to get the information, but I will get it, and
Oh,
I
well,
will.
hold on. I can. You sent it to me right at the beginning, so I'm going to put it in right now. So I'm going to put the link in for you right now. Save you doing it. Len, go ahead.
You want me to take over?
Temporarily, yes, please.
Okay, so go ahead, Les, shoulder up. You had a question. Yes. Just a couple of things. One, whoops, let me pull something else up here. My PS have been slowly increasing this summer up to 1.8 in September. And in September, I had this unequal orchiectomy, which brought my PSA down to 0.56 in November, 0.56. And only 6 weeks later in December, the PSA was back up to 1.8. So the PSA more than tripled in 6 weeks. Granted, it's only 2 points, but still area of concern. Got another Clarify PSMA scan scheduled for February. But that's a little ways away yet. They'd asked me if I wanted to, and I've tried to check to see if there were any cancellations, but so far I have not been able to get in any earlier. I'm a little concerned about if there's any real need to get in any earlier than that, since PSA has been going up so rapidly, seemingly, tripled in 6 weeks. Is there any real concern about waiting until middle or toward the end of February to get another scan? The other question I had is, I had communicated with Dr. Smolovitz on this general issue earlier, and he said that he had never heard of prostate cancer going to the testicles. He indicated that he suggested that there is a barrier similar to the brain barrier, barrier to prevent it from going to the testicles. I do not understand either of these barriers. I don't want to take up the AnCan time for someone to explain it to me, but is there someone that offline could try to explain to me, as someone that's a little bit short on being able to
Yes.
understand this blood?
Les, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
I can do it maybe in one sentence just for the brain barrier. There is no actual physical barrier around the brain that it has to get through, but to get from the bloodstream into the brain are specialized cells that have the capacity of keeping certain things out. The other barrier.
That's sort of.
Does that make sense, Herb?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's not around the brain, but it's everywhere the blood accesses the brain, the blood circulation. As far as that other barrier, I have no clue. I never heard of it.
Well, nobody's ever heard of, well, very few people had ever heard of prostate cancer going to the testicles. And the only one I'd heard of is my Dr. Kwan from Mayo Clinic has seen it before. But when he indicated that that was what it was, there was none of his colleagues that believed him. So it took a while for them to do some biopsies and everything else before he finally acknowledged that it had in fact gone to the testicles. But why wouldn't it go to the testicles? I mean, why had
Well, Les, why don't you ask Dr. Kwan or Dr. Shmulewitz, who told you that it can't go there? I don't think we have the answer for you here. Also, though, being that it is controversial, maybe you should get a second opinion on the pathology from the testicles to make sure it's prostate cancer. Maybe send it over to Epstein at Johns Hopkins.
Well, they did the biopsy first. Both the C11 choline PET scan indicated that it was in the testicles, and so did the PSMA scan. And they did a biopsy finally to confirm it, and it came up prostate cancer. And then after the surgery, they tested it again and confirmed that it was prostate cancer. So I don't know what more that how much more assurance that we would need that that's what it was.
So then I know you and I spoke about this. Did you try and have a consult with Shmulewitz to ask him why he thought it's not possible for prostate cancer to go to the testicles?
I had earlier before our conversation with you that I had to some degree, but I've just prepared another note to him asking some of those questions. I haven't sent it yet. I was going to yet today.
Okay. So with regard to your first question about can you afford to wait to get the PSMA scan? Certainly you're at the sweet spot right now where they can detect a PSMA scan would certainly detect lesions that might be there. You said 1.8, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So the question as to whether you could afford to wait till February is a question I don't think anybody can answer. All we can tell you is the sooner you do it, the better. No one's going to be able to tell you that, well, if you wait 2 weeks, it won't spread too far. And if you wait 4 weeks, it'll spread twice as far. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless anyone else wants to chime in on that.
I mean, the only thing I want to say, Les, is that you need outside opinions. And
well,
you need
like
outside
I say,
opinions. I mean, everything you're doing is within Mayo. You need outside opinions. That biopsy should go outside of Mayo to Epstein. I say it should. I'm not going to give you medical advice. I will say that if it was me, I would want it to go somewhere else. I would want it to, especially with something so unusual. I would send it to the best pathologist in the world. That is namely Jonathan Epstein for this type of thing, and ask him to give you a report on what he sees in your post-surgical pathology.
That's what I would do if it was me too.
Yeah, but are you saying that Mayo Clinic may not be able to determine if something is prostate cancer or not? There's twice, they did the biopsy.
Let me ask you a question, Les. Why do you get a second opinion? Why do you get a second opinion on anything?
Well, if there's a question of you can question the opinion of the first, but something like this for Mayo Clinic not being able to tell if something's prostate cancer or not, I didn't think that was really questionable.
Pathology is not an exact science. In fact, I can't imagine how those guys make the distinctions they do, because everything is on a spectrum. the spectrum of what you look at when you look at prostate cancers from Gleason's, 6 to 10 are not discrete things. They're a gradual progression from differentiated to undifferentiated, and where people make distinctions between non-cancer and cancer, or a 7 or an 8, that is that is not an exact science. So I think it's a great idea when something is a little ambiguous like that. Pathology, if you read pathologists' literature, you see they struggle and struggle to develop criteria to distinguish A from B because it just doesn't jump out at you under the microscope and tell you what it is. It requires judgment.
Now, Les, aside from the prostate diagnosis, people like Epstein sometimes see things that other pathologists don't see. Just when you're looking at cancer cells, and they can sometimes be squirrely and weird. I mean, you have something. I've got prostate cancer in a place that nobody else on this call has. I mean, hardly anybody gets it where I have it in my peritoneal cavity. It's very unusual. It's like yours is very unusual. I had to do a biopsy to determine it was indeed prostate cancer several years ago. But so it's worth getting another image of it. Just sending the slides and just seeing what someone else is saying, not to particularly confirm or deny that it's prostate cancer, but to see if there's anything unusual about it. That's why it's nesting in this particular area.
Okay.
What about getting the genetic testing done too?
Yeah, that saved me. When it happened with me, all of a sudden my MSI went from stable to high.
Well, I had some done some time ago. I suppose it can be done again.
Yeah, it's worth it. Yeah.
Well, if
things
it
are
wasn't
weird.
if it wasn't supposed to be there and it is there, I would think a genetic test would be a good idea.
Dr. Bob put a link in, which I'm just looking at right now. And
Yes.
the thing that concerns me is it says that testicular metastases occur in up to 4% of all prostate cancer cases. I have to say I don't believe that. Why don't I believe it? Because when we talk to many highly experienced GU medical oncologists, they've never seen it before. So, if 4 out of every 100 patients have testicular metastases, I don't know who they were looking at and where that number came from. Now, the only thing I will say is that was from an article in 2002. The article that was published in 2002. And I don't know who it was that was identifying the prostate cancer in the testes, but that alone makes me very suspicious. And when was this article published? Published in 2014. Strange. I don't get it.
Rick, there's another article from 2017 says between 0.18 and 0.5%. So seems, another one says very rare. So,
And but that Rick, they're from it's from MD Anderson.
What is from MD Anderson?
That paper.
Not the 2014. The 2014 one isn't.
The 2002 paper.
Oh, the 2002 paper was from that they're quoting from is from MD Anderson. I don't get it. I mean, somebody like Eleni says she's never seen it before. And she was 14 years at MD Anderson.
Right.
So anyway, let's move on.
Okay, thank you.
Jimmy G.
Uh, I don't know. I guess so. You know, I know it's a really common thing. I had a sleep apnea test because I sleep for about 90 minutes a night on average at the most, sometimes an hour. If I'm real lucky, 2 hours at a time. They have a home test that they gave me, which is a little sensor on my finger, like the pulse thing, and a little wristwatch and a sensor from my sternum. I have seen other home kits that they give you that seem to be more elaborate. And of course, there's also the one where you actually go into the hospital or a sleep center and get it done there. And that looks much more involved from the demonstrations that I've seen. I suppose that they give me the one to take home because they want to evaluate as best they can initially before they try to do anything else. All I got back was a one sentence after saying it would take a week and a half to 2 weeks. The very next day, I got an email in my portal, a message in my portal that said, no interrupted breathing detected. That's all that it said. I don't even know who it was from. So I am not sure if there's anything that I can do, if there's anything I want to do. I guess I'm looking for experience with apnea. If that would help, and also if you have addressed apnea with means other than a CPAP machine, not that I'm opposed to it, and also if there is anyone who has had, as I am, being told that they don't have it, only to dig a little deeper and maybe found out that they did. And then finally, am I just complaining too much because we're old and we sleep for 2 hours at a time and that's the way life is? That's me.
I have some experience if you want to, I don't know if it'll be of any help,
I
but
want your experience, of course.
I've had every sleep apnea test probably. And the one thing with the take-home ones, if they're not really accurate unless you have a solid night's sleep. So if you're only sleeping for 90 minutes or an hour at a time, it's not going to be able to get really good data on you because you're not having continuous sleep, and so it really can't get a good grasp of what your breathing is and how many times you're getting disturbed. So I would advise getting the one where you go in overnight, because that way they also have a camera on you. They can see when you're moving around. It's much more detailed. That's what I ended up having. And I had mild sleep apnea, and how they treat it is with a mouth guard that pulls your jaw forward, that opens up your airway. So I was fortunate I didn't have it bad enough where I had to have a CPAP machine. But I'd say if you can swing it and get it, it's go to the sleep center and stay overnight there and have it done there.
I can swing.
This is
I'm a
John.
swinger. Yeah, I'll swing that.
Carl, do you want to
This is
say
John.
anything? Hold
Go
on a
ahead,
minute,
Rick.
John. Carl, do you want to say anything? Because you told us you've been using a CPAP machine for years.
Yeah, and I can't sleep without it at this point. It's been probably around 10 years or so. I did have a lab test where they had basically they had a bedroom set up with cameras and microphones and attached me to all kinds of leads all over my body. And so, based upon that, it was determined that yes, I do have sleep apnea. I was subsequently told that the insurance companies will no longer pay for that type of a test. The only test they will pay for is the one that you do at home. I did also have the one at home, and it also did confirm that I still had the sleep apnea. So, it takes a while to get used to. I have a friend of mine who was diagnosed with it, but after 3 days, he gave up. He could not sleep with the mask on. And there are different types of masks that you can try. And that's also the purpose of seeing a professional sleep apnea doctor who will find you the right type of equipment.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I've been dealing with sleep apnea for a number of years. I have a machine. As a matter of fact, last year I went and had went overnight, and I would strongly encourage you to do so, because they really can determine there are different types of sleep apnea. There's a central sleep apnea and obstructive, um, and I think my quality of sleep and my REM sleep has gotten much, much, much better, and I feel much, much better and sleep longer periods of time as a result of wearing the headgear.
Thank you, Stan.
Yeah.
I
just
know
want to,
that. Yeah, go ahead, John. I want you to hear.
no, this is Bob.
Bob?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've made a number of appliances for patients with mild to moderate sleep apnea, and it works pretty well if you have mild to moderate obstructive sleep apnea. And a few people who had a, just couldn't get used to the CPAP or BiPAP, and they seem to do pretty well with it.
With
So
what?
it's
I'm sorry.
much less obtrusive.
With what is it?
It's a dental appliance. It's
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it. Yes.
it basically brings your lower jaw, opens your lower jaw and brings it forward. But there's a bunch of different ones. Some are just lock you in, and some are better that give you a little bit of leeway. The only
I've been
bad thing is you end up drooling very often.
I've been using them probably for 15 years, and the ones that I first started using were pretty bulky. The ones they have now, while expensive, are much more thin, more comfortable. It's worked for me for 15 years, but yeah, the design of them now with technology, they can, they scan the inside of your mouth, and they work really well compared to years ago when, you had to bite into a mold and have them made that way. But worked really well for me. But again, it depends, I think, on what, how severe your apnea problem is, and
Yeah.
what causes it.
Also, if you grind your teeth, you're going to wear those appliances out in no time.
It's good to know how much you're grinding, I guess. I just thought it was really a bladder, bladder urgency issue because I got scorched earth bladder, as a lot of us do. But even when I dehydrate myself, I still wake up. My wife says that sometimes I wake up with that start and a snort, like that. It's just usually telltale interruption. So I'm going to take this to heart and try to dig a little bit deeper. I'm okay, but I feel tired. It's starting to wear on me a little bit. I know I'm not getting REM sleep like I should. So I know it's small potatoes, but I thought I'd check in about it. I really appreciate the input.
One other option, Jimmy, I don't know the details on this, but they've been advertising the heck out of this thing called Inspire, which apparently requires some sort of an internal implant, and then you have an external control. So if you find out that yes, you have it, and you're gonna have to go the mask route, before I do that, I'd ask about this Inspire.
Okay.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna finish off here with Dr. John because he had a comment, and then this isn't really a sleep apnea forum.
I'm sorry I even brought it up.
It seems like we may need a sleep apnea forum, so we're gonna nominate Jimmy as the lead moderator going forward.
Shit.
And if you can find a way to get to sleep apnea patients, we'd be happy to start a forum just for sleep apnea.
Look what I did. Look what I did. You stuck it to me, just like I knew you would.
Dr. John, go ahead.
And we can use the midnight to 6 in the morning time slot that way.
Yeah. Don't ever give Rick an opportunity to give you an assignment. I will just say briefly that I completely agree with everything all those guys said. However, we really don't have much evidence that sleep apnea is the issue, and there are many sleep disorders, many of them besides sleep apnea. The sensors that you have in a home study don't include an EEG sensor, so they cannot tell if you're waking from REM sleep or other type of sleep. And I think I'd take the approach that your home study may have ruled out sleep apnea, but it didn't cure your sleep problem. You still have it. and try to get an overnight sleep study in a lab. Uh, you really get a tremendous amount of information from that.
Okay,
Okay,
let's wrap
we're,
this baby up.
we're moving on. We got 2 gents left, so we could be finishing close to time, and then I will open it up to anybody who came in late. Jeff Wood.
Yeah, over the last couple meetings, there's been a lot of discussion about when to get a PSMA scan, and it seems like there's some push to get them done earlier. I'm approaching the 0.2 right now, and I would imagine if I did it and it came back inconclusive, I'd want to do it again at like 0.6, where we used to talk about it getting done. Has anybody, how often can you get one with insurance? I mean, what's people's experience with that?
So the answer to that is as often as you need, provided there is medical reason to get it, because I've specifically asked Telix, and that's the answer I've got. And if you give me a minute momentarily, I will give you the quote that Telix gave me. But so you can go in and then you can go back, provided this is recurrent, not early, which it is in your case, Jeff. So it's really you working with your quarterback doctor and the quarterback doctor working with your insurance. Now that's Medicare. Insurance should follow Medicare, but they don't always do it. Are you on Medicare or not?
No.
Not yet. So again, who's your carrier?
It's going to be Oscar.
Don't know. Who is that?
It's called Oscar. That's the insurance company.
Never heard
OSCAR.
of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't know them.
Apparently they're throughout the states.
I don't know. I would suggest that you have a conversation with them and you can quote. Let me make a note here for later. What I'll do is I'll forward you the correspondence that I had with Telix, who make Illucix, which is one of the 2 PSMA gallium 68 PSMA 11 scans. Okay, and we went back to them specifically on the issue. So I'll try and I'll try and get that, and I'll also try and put it in the chat window if I have a minute. But anybody else have any thoughts on whether to get something at 0.2, whether to wait? I mean, we know that at 0.2 you're at about less than 40%. I think I'd have to look up the numbers. I think it's 38, 39, 40. If you wait till 0.6, you're closer to 80% success.
I mean, I don't mind waiting, and I don't know if anybody. I don't remember hearing anybody on here saying they got something significant at 0.2.
I was just going to say, I thought in the last couple of weeks there was somebody that got something. Last month maybe that got something at 0.2.
Yeah,
That's,
I have somebody that got a good finding at 0.2.
yeah, so that's what my doc said. He said, I want to see if you got any little hot spot, and if we don't, we'll do it again later on down the road. So,
I was at 0.2 and they found 2 lesions on my spine.
yeah,
But I have like at least a 9, so it's pretty aggressive.
Thank you.
By the way, I just want to say I did put earlier on, hopefully you guys saw it, I did put the link in there for the webinar. Just scroll back and you'll find it back there in the chat window if you missed it. And let me see here. I think I might have what you need right. Is it here? No. Might be here. No. I've got to keep looking for this. Sorry. I was hoping it would jump right at me, but it hasn't done that. Anyone else on this issue?
Yeah, actually, Rick, I wanted to ask Harry, what did they do when you had your two lesions identified after the 0.2 PSMA scan?
I had zapped with was it SBRT or SRBT? I forget what it's called, but yeah,
SBRT.
I had radiation to them, and then they combined. They gave me another drug. I was on Zoladex at the time, and they added enzalutamide. Took a more aggressive approach to it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. I can't find it, Jeff, so I'll have to send it to you, and hopefully it'll. I know I have it.
Thank
I
you.
have it, but it's just not. It's not shouting at me, I'm afraid. Okay, Tony Fig.
This may seem a bit of a redundant question. It's regarding tumor testing, and I haven't been on the forum that long, but I guess it's been discussed before. But what are you actually determining when you have a tumor test? And is there a difference between that and what Dr. Epstein might do on his analysis? I know Mike Yancey mentioned that he does not emit PSA. And so I guess I'm kind of worried that I could have cancer growing or metastasizing without knowing it because it may not be emitting any PSA because my PSMA did not pick up any hotspots. So I'm just wondering what the tumor testing would yield in information. And then second question is, can you be having a lot of growth and metastasis without knowing it? And how could that be determined?
Who wants to take that one on?
Well, all I can say is that yes, you can have a lot of growth and metastasis, and still have, if you get a PSA test, still have a low PSA. That was my problem because in October, before I was ended up in the hospital, my PSA was 2.4. The year before that, it was 1.6, I think it was, and so by the time I ended up in the hospital, like I said, it had went from 2.4, which was still well within the range, to whatever 40, 47, 44, 44, whatever it was. And so in my case, yes, I had it all over my body, and they couldn't find it, and of course it still wasn't all that high based upon the amount of metastasis that I already had. So I still can complain if I want to complain about anything. Is that the lack of use of the DRE is something that too many doctors have quit using, and they should be using, because that may have found it on me long before it metastasized. Don't know, but that's a hypothesis.
You can also get what they call liquid biomarkers. Sometimes they call them liquid biopsy, but they're basically urine-based tests that will let you know if there are cancer cells in the bloodstream as a result of prostate. Okay, there's a couple of them. ExoDX is one of them. It's an exosome test, and then Select MDX. They're the two primary ones that are out there. I can put that in the chat. Or if you have a biopsy sample that's available, you can get other genetic tests or genomic tests, as they're often referred to. And there's three primary players in the game that also can be assessed.
Yeah, but I think that's a little different use, Joe. I think that's really for people either who've just had a prostatectomy and we don't see the recurrence to see if it's coming back, or
Mhm.
people early on. I mean, I've not heard of those. Have you heard of those tests being used for people that are already recurrent?
No, not really. Not the liquid biopsies might be applicable. The other genomics, probably not. They should be able to do more with the actual results of the surgery.
I want to clarify what Tony Fig was asking. Um, your concern is that we don't see anything with a PSMA test. And could the cancer be growing in the meantime? So there are a couple of things. There's a fair percentage. Somebody in the call is going to know the number, but I think it's around 20% of people that don't make PSMA. So, and this is sort of the issue that we talked about many times with Dr. Jack. And so what you go back to the days when we didn't have PSMA tests, and you have to wait until the next best thing, which was new and revolutionary a few years ago, is the Aximin test. But we know the Aximin test, you've really got to be at least at 0.85, if not higher. So you've got to wait for your cancer to increase, and then you do an Aximin test, and that doesn't require PSMA for it to see anything. Now, we've also, and I forget if you've done this or not, you'll remind me, we also talk about the sequencing, but the sequencing is not going to identify cancer. It's going to tell you if there are any good treatments for the cancer. So it's a different type of orientation. And I'm not sure if that's what you were asking about.
Dr. Van ordered the tumor testing, and he was going to order a review from Dr. Epstein of the pathology, but I don't know if he's followed through on that. But I haven't gotten the results of the tumor testing. He was just sending that out, and I didn't know what that testing would reveal going forward.
Well, the purpose of you doing the tumor testing is to see if there is a treatment. What it will reveal is, are you a candidate for treatments like Peter has talked about today and other times? Do you have some sort of a gene mutation or a genomic profile that would make you a good candidate for a particular treatment? That's why he's doing that. It's not going to tell you where the cancer is.
Right.
Okay. What is going to tell you where the cancer is? Well, a PSMA scan might do, but if you show negative and you keep showing negative, it's not going to tell you. And that's the problem. That's the issue that Dr. Jack's been going through, and others that we've had on here, where, they're getting up to over 1 and we're still not really seeing anything. Now, Dr. Jack's a very different situation to yours because it's taken donkey's years for it to get to this level. So we have the assurance that whatever's got going on doesn't grow that quickly. You have something that's growing pretty quickly. When was the last time that Dr. Van Veek did a PSA test?
I get them monthly, and the last one was 0.47.
And so has it moved much over the last several months?
Well, I'm on hormone therapy now, so it's almost negligible.
So it's 0.47 and
that was prior to the hormone therapy.
And has the hormone therapy, yeah.
Since then, it's less than 0.2.
Right. So if it's driving it down, the only way that you're going to know where it is to stop the hormone therapy and let your PSA go up. You know, that's the problem with the hormone therapy. That's why we say to people sometimes, don't start the hormone therapy until you can get a result, because the cancer's not going to get too far out of hand. But the doctors, sometimes they want to start something really quickly, and then we don't have the chance to know where it is or where it was.
Could it still be growing though, even though the hormone therapy has brought the PSA way down? Maybe could there be cancer that's not emitting PSA?
Well,
Well,
you're now hormone sensitive, so no. It
so
can't grow. It's not going to grow until you become hormone resistant, and that takes years.
or Dr. John, or unless you have a cancer that is not a hormone driven cancer, which probably is not your situation. If you had a cancer that was, say, a neuroendocrine cancer and it wasn't an adenocarcinoma, yes, that could be happening. But the reason we're giving you the hormone therapy is because the cancer feeds on the testosterone, and that's what makes it grow. And so we take the testosterone away, and then it can't grow anymore.
But that's probably not Tony's case, right, Rick? Because his has been knocked into remission by hormone deprivation therapy.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. So that doesn't
he could
apply to
enjoy
you.
a remission right now if he wants to. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really a remission. I don't like to call that a remission, but it's the treatment. It's what the treatment's doing. The treatment is handling your cancer for you. And it's pulling your cancer down, keeping it at a low level. Is it going to grow whilst you're on hormone therapy? Most people would say not. But ask Dr. Sholz. That's a good question. That's a good Dr. Sholz question, because if somebody's going to say it could do, it's probably going to be a Dr. Sholz who's going to say, well, it could do, and here's the reason why. But most GU medical oncologists like Dr. Van Vee will say it's not going to grow because we're taking the testosterone away. Enough of the testosterone away. What's your testosterone level?
7.
So, at that level, we don't think that it grows. We don't know for sure, but we don't think it grows. And anybody else want to comment and give Tony some assurance on this?
Yeah, some oncologists are noting that even in the presence of a low PSA, which they defined as 0.2 or lower, they find radiographic progression, something like 20%. So it's possible. It's unlikely, but possible. The only way you would find out is, as Rick said, you take, you have a scan, either something like Acumen or an FDG scan, whereby it doesn't matter if the cell is producing PSA or PSMA or anything. Those scans will show any cancer cell that is growing, period, if it's multiplying, because growing cancer cells need nutrients. And fluticasone, which is Acumen, and FDG, which is glucose, that's fuel for the cancer cells. So even if you have no PSA and no PSMA, those types of scans can pick up where lesions might be.
Would the tumor testing reveal the possibilities of that?
I'm not sure what you mean by the tumor testing.
No,
I mean,
the tumor testing. The tumor testing is the tumor testing is not going to tell you that. The tumor testing is only going to tell you about the genetic compilation of your cancer. What might possibly tell you something about that is if Dr. Epstein sees cells that he thinks may not be adenocarcinomic. So if he comes back and he says, yeah, we got these cells and, I don't think these are sensitive to testosterone, that would tell you. And that might be why he wants an opinion from Epstein on your pathology. But the tumor testing is only going to tell you, when we talk about tumor testing, we're talking about the genetic composition of the tumor, the genomic composition of the tumor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Am I, guys? Am I right, Brains Trust?
Mhm.
Hey, where the hell's Ben? We haven't heard from Ben the whole
No, but I
meeting.
mean, I think you are right. I mean, I guess what's the real nub of the question you're asking?
Oh, the question, the real nub is that Tony's concerned that the cancer could be growing whilst he has low testosterone, and he's on hormone therapy. As Len has said, Len, what was the incidence that you said that they
About
saw?
20%, and 20% of guys with the PSA less than 0.2 have been shown to have cancer radiographically progressing.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's a very interesting fact.
And these were well-known oncologists. I can't think of their names right now, but they were, very well-known guys.
Well, if you find that reference,
Yeah, I
ship
think
it.
I have it somewhere.
We'd like to see it, but that's his concern. Is he one of those 20%, where his cancer's growing even though he's at a very low level of testosterone and he's on hormone therapy? That's his concern. That's the nub.
It's a tough one because we're all facing the fact that that these cells are in our body, and we heard Eleni say this, right? These cells reside within our body, and they've been there, and their purpose is to grow. So, and our goal is to stop them from growing, and that's the fight.
Okay. So there you go. We'll if we can if Len finds it, we'll make sure we send it on to you. It's not probably what you want, but we'll send it on to you. But by and large, we feel that men who are on hormone therapy, it stabilizes their cancer, and as long as they are responsive to the hormone therapy. But at some point, they become castrate resistant, and the cancer figures a way to grow. But you are not, you're hormone sensitive because we're driving your testosterone down, your PSA down. What's your PSA right now? What's the latest PSA?
It's less
Non-detectable.
than 0.02.
0.02. So it's responded to the hormone therapy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Which is a good thing. You may not feel the best on it, we know, but it is a good thing. It's doing what it's supposed to do, Mr. Fig.
Mm. Well, thank you very much for all of your input, and it has given me some reassurance and comfort.
I hope so. I hope so. And Jeff Wood left too early because I just found the payers information. So we'll have to try and figure out a way to make sure that that is in the recording when it goes out today. Commercial payers typically have, okay, where you can all read what it says in the chat window. And this is now someone else. Len's trumped me with the Armstrong thing. which I'm going to open and read later. But it is right there.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm loading Len's thing to read later. All right. We got round everybody. Ken Anderson, anything you wanted to say? I know you came in a little late. Mr.
No,
Anderson.
no, I was on time, but I don't have anything to add.
Oh, then I apologize for not asking you.
So Rick,
I did.
can we go back to the
Herb. Am I in the middle of a sentence
yes,
with Ken
yes.
Anderson or not? Okay, please. Mr. Anderson, I apologize. I didn't have everyone. I was only seeing active screens. I didn't see you, so I didn't ask you originally, and I want to apologize and also want to wish you the best of health in 2023. Was there anything you wanted to raise?
No, not a thing. Labs tomorrow. I won't know more till then.
Okay. How many Pluvictos have you done?
No, I did the 4, and after the 4, my PSA went up 190 points. So only 4 didn't really work for me.
That's right. And did you get any bone pain? Did you get any bone issues?
None.
No. Okay. What is next on the agenda for you? Do you know?
Yes, on the 3rd, I start bipolar engine therapy, and we'll see how that goes for 6 months.
Okay. All right. And is that being supervised out of MD Anderson or?
Yeah, Paul's got 2 guys that's doing it at the moment, so he's got me on the program. I'm doing it here locally, though, in Phoenix.
Right. Okay. But it's with the blessing from Houston, right?
No, Paul's, like I said, he's got a couple guys doing it, and they're doing well, so he's thinking it's an okay thing at the moment.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. Well, what comes first, the big shot of testosterone or the ADT?
I haven't been on any drugs since October, mid-October, so my T levels, because I've been on ADT for like 7 years. I don't have any testosterone. It hasn't come back since October 15th. I'm still below 2.5. So I don't think there's any rush to go on ADT. I'll probably, and I'm going to do the high dose testosterone shot on Monday, no, on the 3rd, so tomorrow. And I would imagine 4 weeks from now, I'll start the pill, the oral pill. I don't know, you know. Don't really know.
So
Paul hasn't. Go ahead.
if we see you rocketing into the sky out of Phoenix after this huge testosterone shot, we'll know what it is, right?
Yeah, I do
Is that a bird?
anticipate.
Is that a plane? No, it's Ken Anderson.
No,
I can't wait to hear how this goes, Ken.
actually, I'm anticipating some weeks of bone pain,
Yeah.
and then some weeks of feeling pretty well, and then, I'll start ADT on the 4th week, and we'll see how that goes when my T levels then drop back down to 0. Um, I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
It is. Yeah.
Bryce Olson says it's no big thing. He's been skiing the last 3 days in the Cascades, so if I can follow his lead, I'll be happy.
What's your starting PSA where are you at right now?
I'm getting labs tomorrow. Right now I'm at 212.
212. Okay, well you'll update us on that, what the baseline was, but we wish you the very, very best on all of this, as I'm sure you know. Herb, go ahead. Oh,
Oh,
sorry, Ken.
I want to get back to Peter.
Oh, yes,
I want to.
we'll cover Peter. Ken, did
Okay,
you want to
fine.
say something? I just saw you came on again.
No, no, I'm good. Thanks.
Herb, go for Peter. Give Peter the kudos.
Peter has been nominated and actually selected as a what a person who makes a difference in Maui for his work with AnCan and with the prostate cancer support groups on Maui. Was a lovely article about Peter in the Maui newsletter. I don't know which newspaper, but it's very adulatory. And we really, Peter, you're not only good for us, you're good for Maui and you're good for Hawaii. So I really congratulations, and you well deserved.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I am honored. I know the person who nominated me, but more than the honor, it's just I just hope that the word gets out through the paper, through the publicity. The word gets out to people who are the guys who are hiding in the shadows, who make that call, to need to reach out, and need to connect up with us or me or anybody else. I mean, there's a lot of us that do this kind of stuff. I think of Jim Marshall, who sits at the desk there at Walter Reed every week, and the guys he meets coming through the hospital. I mean, there's a lot of avenues that we all have to reach out to turn this thing that originally we thought of as a curse to be a blessing for others. So, all of you keep up the good work.
I saw a few hands go up, and Dr. John, did you want to say something? I saw your hand go up for a second.
No, I hit the wrong button.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations,
Did
Peter.
you
We're
send
proud of
out
you.
that article with the recording, Rick?
What we're going to do is we're going to blog it. So I've sent it to Alexa and we're going to turn it into a blog. So just make sure you're signed up to our blog, okay? You should be signed up. It'll go out in the blog, and then once it goes out in the blog, I will put it in the reminder. But we first of all got to get it onto the blog first, and then I'll be sure that it goes in the reminder.
Thanks.
Okay. And yes, I add my kudos, and we know, I mean, it's fantastic stuff. It's just a great shame that we weren't able to, there wasn't enough interest to keep that Maui group going, Peter.
Well, I spent a couple of hours today with a guy, but I still keep everybody connected. Because getting them herding cats, as you all know, is not very easy.
If ever you want to start the Maui group again, you are very welcome. We'll make time for you. We'll find a slot for you to hold it in. So it's always available. Okay.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And are we calling it a night? Anybody else have anything before we call it a night? Who's back? Oh, Peter's back. Peter's back with us next week from Maui. Anything else from anybody?
I'm gonna hit
Okay.
the right button. I'm gonna hit the right button and get out of here. Oh.
Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, that
So
beats
long.
me.
Good night.
Good night. Take care.
Hey, thanks.